Many years ago, one summer day, I felt like I had the peak life. I didn't really have any stress because it was the middle of summer. I didn't have to worry about school. The only thing I really did care about was whenever I had to go to bed, and luckily my parents didn't care, so I didn't even really have a bedtime either. Life was so easy and simple. And yes, I did have struggles at times, but it was just the normal kid struggles until I found out that I was going to get transferred to a new school. Now, my entire life growing up, I've moved all over the states because my stepdad was in the military. So I never really had a stable place to stay. I was always going around wherever it might be, Colorado, Virginia, North Carolina, just all over the United States. Although this was nothing new to me, because I was getting older, this time it felt different. It felt different because I actually had made friends and I understood what friendship was at this age. When I was really young, things like this didn't matter that much, but this time, moving to a new school, I was actually tired of it. I was tired of moving. So when I get this news, there's about 7 days left of summer. So I'm just playing with my siblings in the yard, literally throwing the football, doing the most simple things. We actually also got obsessed with Minecraft at this time. But in my opinion, even better than normal Minecraft, we actually did real life stuff outside where we would actually build forts and stuff like this, and it was so fun. But I knew soon that this would come to an end, and there was finally some stress in my life that I had never felt before. I'm going to a new school, so it's time to get ready. I'm counting down the days as this new school is approaching me, and eventually I accept it. I know that I'm gonna have to do it, so why not do it anyway? It's the night before the first day of school, and I have extreme jitters. I can't even sleep. The excitement and fear and nerves were all getting to me, and I literally couldn't even think. I was just sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting for the time to pass until I could just get on the school bus. Next thing I know, in my bed, my eyes are closed, and I wake up and I am exhausted. I got no sleep this night, and when I woke up, I literally felt like I had a crust on my eyes. It was disgusting. I hated it. But it was finally time to face my fear of going to this new school. So I get on the bus. I don't know anybody. I'm just going to the school. The first thing that happens when I get to school is I walk in the cafeteria and I hear a bunch of talking, and all of the kids knew each other except for me and my brother. Now, I didn't really talk to my brother much because we were in different grades, so I actually ended up just sitting alone at a table. I sat alone at this table just wondering what was to come next, until eventually this one kid, I'm not going to say his real name, let's just call him Derek, sat next to me. He was really kind, nice, polite, and to be honest, all of the other kids at this school were just not like that. They were honestly really rude and people I didn't really like. While I'm sitting at this table talking to Derek, another person came up to me and sat down. Let's just call him Sean. He was more in with this, I guess, cooler group, or he was more normal, while the Derek kid was an outcast. He was not this kid that people talk to pretty much at all. So now I'm sitting there talking to both of them, and Sean didn't really talk to Derek. He only really talked to me, and we got along very well also. So now I go to class and I realize that both of these guys are in my class. So it was perfect. I actually had made some friends on the first day of school. Now everything felt in a way back to normal as it did during the summer because I had some friends, everything was good, and I actually met people at school that I can talk to now. So now I'm sitting in the class, doing work, just listening to the teacher and having a good time. It was honestly really easy. I'm not saying that I was just really smart, but the grades were all A's, and I honestly didn't struggle at all. And I actually think it's because the school I was going to at this point was a lower standard than the one I was before. I'm not exactly sure, but everything just felt really easy. Now this is where everything took a turn. So I'm sitting in class, everything is great. I'm talking to Sean and Derek, both separately, but somewhat at the same time, although they never spoke to each other, which was really weird to me. Until eventually, I got this bag of chips, and this sounds really random, but it was like a bag of hot Cheetos. I got this bag, and I started eating it. And I don't know what it was, maybe it was really loud, I'm not sure. The only reason that I did it is because all of the other kids around me would eat like this in my class. It was not an unusual thing to eat in class, which in my other school, this was not allowed at all. It was completely against the rules, but for some reason, this school, it was totally fine. You were allowed to do it. So I was sitting there while the teacher was teaching, and everybody had their snacks out, and I was eating these chips, and they were really good, to say the least. It was those hot Chesters, the red ones. If you guys have ever had them, it's like hot fries, and I was just eating them, and I was eating them a little bit too loud. I will admit, I was chewing the bag so hard. Not the bag, but the chips. I was literally just going chip, 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 like I was starving or something. I don't know what it was, until I look around and I notice all of the quote-unquote normal or popular kids are just looking at me. And one girl, and in my opinion probably the most attractive girl in my class, turns around and says, "Are those good?" my face instantly turns red and I feel horrible. I don't know what I was doing. I don't know what got into me, but I felt so embarrassed because now I'm this new kid at this school, and instead of being known for anything good, I'm now known as this kid who eats chips really loud in class. So now I'm sitting there, I'm just thinking, and Derek talks to me like 10 minutes later. He's telling me that it's all good. It's happened to him before where the kids in the class have made fun of him, but it is what it is. Just keep moving on. And this made me feel a lot better. Me and him go back to talking to normal things, and everything felt somewhat okay, but there was some tension in the back of my head that people thought I was weird at this point. The next day that I had showed up to school, I started talking to Derek again, yet this time I felt subtle insecurity. I didn't know what it was, but I just felt that everybody was watching me, and I started to become aware of the fact that people thought this Derek kid was weird. And I didn't know exactly why, because there was nothing specifically about him that was that weird, but everybody said it. Now I just completely ignore this. I keep moving on, act like nothing happened, until the most crazy thing happened that I would have never expected. And Sean came up to me, he pulled me aside while I'm talking to Derek, and he said, "Dylan, you can't talk to this kid anymore. He is weird. You gotta stay away from him." And what's really weird is that when I said this, Sean was with some of his other friends, and they all were kind of laughing and agreeing, saying that I need to get away from him. And I guess they might have put me on a pedestal. I don't know. Maybe they thought that I wasn't weird and that I was going down the wrong path. I'm not exactly sure. But they all agreed on this, and I said no. I completely disagreed. I said, no, that's not right. I'm not going to stop talking to somebody just because you tell me to. This doesn't make any sense. I'm going to keep talking to my friend because he's my friend. I'm not just going to ignore him. So I go back, I sit down, and I start talking to him again. And we're just having a great conversation. I felt even more of a strong bond than before because I stood up for this guy. And what's even crazier about it is the teacher noticed this. The teacher came up and she pulled me aside after the class and said that she saw what I did and that she really respected me for it. Or she at least just let me know that what I did was nice. So I felt good about myself going home from school that day. And this sort of continued throughout the entire school year. I felt like talking to this kid was actually fun, and everybody kept continuously telling me not to talk to him. The thing that I didn't notice this whole time is that people actually didn't notice that I was talking to him. It wasn't that many. It was only Sean and like a few other people. Everyone else in the school had no idea, and they thought I was normal. So I decided in my head that I was going to keep this a secret. I wasn't going to let everybody know that I'm talking to this weird kid, and I will stand up for him. I will continue talking to him. Nothing will change, but I don't want the whole school to know that I'm talking to this guy, right? And this is where everything honestly just went so wrong. So I didn't want anybody to know about this, and I'm walking with him in the hall until eventually these group of kids, these quote-unquote popular kids, came up to me, and in front of me and Derek asked me, "Dylan, are you really friends with this guy?" And I sat there and I thought in my head, I don't know what to say. I'm not sure what to do, but these kids look really mean, and I honestly thought no matter what I said, they were gonna judge me or maybe even like physically try to harm me. I didn't know. And out of instinct, I just said, "No, I'm not friends with him." Then he looked at me with the most sad and defeated face I've ever seen. I basically disowned my friend right in front of all these other people watching. And my goal was to do it and then get back to him right after. I was gonna basically say, "No, I'm not talking to you anymore," and then as soon as these kids walk away, say something. But he walked away, and the popular kids went another way, and I had to get to class, so I just started walking. As I get to class, I'm sweating, and I'm feeling horrible. I knew what I did was wrong, and I felt like there was nothing I could do about it. I even felt so bad that I asked my teacher, "What should I do about this?" And she said that I should go and say sorry to him, so that's exactly what I plan to do. Now, mind you, it's moving towards the end of the school year now, and I'm starting to run out of time. There's about 1 week left of school at this point. So I come to school the next day, and he's not there. And I'm thinking, what in the world happened to Derek? My heart sank when I didn't see him in class that day. I felt disgusted with myself. Like, I felt genuinely horrible. Now I'm just thinking in my head, where can he be? Where can he be? And I go and I ask the teacher, and she says that he called out sick. So I'm like, okay, I'll just say sorry tomorrow. Another day passes. I go to find him, and he's not there again. This is the second day now, and I am starting to worry a lot. So I go up and I ask the teacher, like, what's happening? Like, where is Derek? And she says that he called out sick again. What happened to Derek is he got this sort of sickness where he couldn't come back to school for the rest of the year. And I felt defeated. Genuinely, I felt disgusted with myself. And I went home that night when I found this out, and I started crying. I had no contact with him, no phone number, nothing. I literally just started crying because I felt so disgusted with myself at what I did. And I'm sitting there just wondering if there's ever a time that I will be able to see him and apologize. The time goes on, the days keep passing, I'm just waiting for Derek to show up to school. And I actually wrote an apology note to him on a piece of paper that I took with me in my pocket every single day. I show up, I'm just waiting to hand it to him, and I didn't see him. And what makes it even worse is that day that I disowned my friend was the last day that I would ever see this guy again. I've never seen him ever since. And I'm not gonna lie, I think about it from time to time. It was one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made, and I think that I could have done so much better. Even though my goal was to apologize to him right after, and I was doing it for my safety, I should have never done it. I should have stood up for my friend. Then on the last day of school, when I showed up, I gave the teacher the note that I was gonna give to Derek. And I said, if you ever see him, give this to him. I went home on the bus that day, and I cried all the way home on the bus. And as young as I was, I didn't think this would affect me as much as it did, but this was easily my biggest regret. And if I could go back and change one thing about what I did in high school, I would have stood with Derek. And if I have one message to anybody watching this, it's that you don't always value what you have. See, the reason that I even did this in the first place is because I thought that I was going to be able to apologize to him immediately after. But there was no after. And we take a lot of things for granted in life. Whether it's the food that you eat, the house that you stay in, your parents, your family. Just tell people you care about them. And be grateful. I was not grateful. I took it for granted. And I never saw Derek again. Derek, if you're watching this video, I'm sorry, bro. Truly sorry. Guys, don't make the same mistake that I made. It almost brings me to tears because I'm sorry.